October the 5th, 2019. Charles. This is a comment made by an African NuFriend. What does being real mean? What does it involve? We say that we are not spiritual, and spiritual means related to the soul, to the consciousness. But is that not what we preach? Sometimes I wonder if they are not just a play on words, to try to talk about something new, though it is very old. Why not spirituality? What is wrong with that? This is where we are promised not to return to the creative worlds. But those brought up spiritually and returning to the earth, would they not be a good person and an example for the common man? It does not bother me to return to these conditions. I am tired of the promises of paradises and real universes. Duane responds, all the ideas people personally have are understandable. It's rather difficult to see the view of the guides and how life is. It's simple, but it's difficult, because it's a lot, and we have this personal self, so it's understandable. We have the personal self, and the 5 bodies kind of jump around. We have the mind and emotions. I see how mine does it also. It's just how it is here. This is why I focus on certain things, to kind of keep it lined up, to have a purpose here, and then the real purpose is standing real with the ears, to recognize that. This is where we are at. We're in a new position of recognition. It's not the old ideas, like how the individual you mentioned referred to spiritual, how spiritual refers to the soul and whatever, but realistically, there's no definition there. There's no recognition. And when you look at the world and how they're using these labels, they're all fronts to control others and tapline them. That's why I don't use these references. I see the references for the personal self as very important, certain references, and what real means is simply learning to see what's going on here in creation and making sense of it according to the true reality life is. That's what I mean by real. But again, things are taken in the context of the personal self, and it takes a while for people to see more than that. And I know it's not easy, because the personal self would consider how it has this view and has this life. This is me, and whatever I consider, that's it. I'm a good person, this and that, and that's fine, but really, that's not it. That's just the personal self. We're at this point. This is the new nowness. So I use these terms. I've invented these references. Because if we use the same old references, then it stays the same, just as the individual stated. Why can't we use the same old references, etc.? So if we did, everything stays old and gets worse. Like the fruit you bought 2 months ago. It's sitting there, rotting in a box somewhere in your house. And are you wanting to eat that old fruit? Well, go ahead. You can, but it makes more sense to grow or buy new fruit. There will always be this controversy. You have to understand this. This is the confrontation, the contradiction. There will always be this, until the individual recognizes what's going on. It is kind of a wrestle with the personal self to try to figure these things out. But then, if you use the comparison and even just try to imagine the view of the guides or life itself, can you even consider another view besides your personal view that's taking place? Because that's what you have to do, and use comparison to start to recognize there is something else. I'm fine with delivering this definition in response, but really it equals nothing. Yes, it is a struggle, and it is a focus to want to really recognize what is going on, besides what we've known. I understand that. I see that. I've been through it myself, and it is a toughie to do that, because you have the personal self, and you also have everything that's going on right now with the outside world, which is not good, and it takes your attention, and everybody is trying to struggle and survive personally. There's a lot involved, and this becomes a particular. I understand the individual throwing it back on what I've presented, but again, what I'm presenting is just that. It's a presentation, and I've created the references so that each person has to figure this out for themselves. I haven't set up a program where everybody is just to listen and basically go according to that, like what we've been through with the membership, the masters, the corporations, etc., where people really become indoctrinated. This is to where, through the real side experiences, through your awareness, through certain experiences here, whatever it is, that you figure it out. This is really what it's all about. When RealBazaar and the guides went through what they did to figure it out, they didn't have all this stuff. They didn't have all these books and materials, etc. They continually experimented until they figured it out. There is a constant fine-tuning to this in your awareness, aside from your consciousness. This is the confusion also, just like the individual is saying, well, doesn't it relate to your soul and consciousness, etc.? First of all, you don't know what soul is. Soul is an idea, and supposedly that's your awareness. But is it? Your awareness is something beside your personal self. You have all these screwy definitions going on, and what I've done is more so define it. The recognition is very important. Without that, you're just exchanging ideas, just like all the things going on in the world, where you have the political system, the UN, and all these things, where people discuss things. What are they realistically discussing? How the world's going to get worse, because it has. When they created the UN, it was to bring everybody together for a better understanding, but it hasn't gotten better, it's got worse. With what we're doing, I see the people who have stepped up have gotten a better understanding of things. They've done better personally, and yes, there's still a lot to go. This is always going to come up, and you decide how you're going to confront it or not. And sometimes people ask these questions of the real guides, and the guides just walk away, because maybe in 100 or 500 years you will get it, but you have to go through a lot of experience. It's like a child in the first grade asking if they can drive the car and get a job, etc. Well, what's the answer to that? This process is more so than anything else. The new presentation and the references accordingly. I don't give it a time limit for myself. I see it as endlessness. And it's not about years, expecting to have experiences in a few weeks, etc. And I go through a lot myself. This is the challenge with yourself and others, and how you see this, and how you understand it. What it breaks down to many times. Unless there is a real understanding presented, then it becomes a problem-solving situation constantly, where you just simply try to answer questions and make it sound good. But how is it that you get the individual around to where they start to recognize more than just their personal self? And that's what the guides do from the real side to here, more so than just this personal self that seems so huge in this world. The personal self seems like everything, but is it? Again, you have to figure it out.
Mr. Kevin, that was good, yes. Sometimes I hold my breath at what I've said before, etc., because as these questions came on, things are moving along pretty fast. So if you see that there has to be a little editing there to update whatever was said, please do it, okay? Because when I used to go through my books, as I wrote them, and then every couple of years I would go through all the books, I would upgrade things accordingly, little by little. So it doesn't have to be word for word, so make sense of it so that it kind of fits in with what we're saying now. So, you know, if I happen to say something like forever, you know, it goes on forever. No, I don't use the word infinity or forever, but I may just happen to say it one time. It is the endlessness. It is the isness, endlessness. So again, but thank you so much. That's great. It's a lot of fun to hear these things. And yes, Charles the African was great while he was here, but he decided to, you know, literally leave because he really couldn't see anymore, and was his choice. He was just looking at the physical side of this, and he figured, well, I'd taken it all in, whatever he figured, or this is fake, or it's not real, or whatever he thought. It doesn't really matter. It's all okay, but it is not what people think it is. Yes, there is a lot more. So for those that grasp it, lucky you, because it is exceptional and very real. Yes, thank you, Kevin. That's great. Thank you.
Running about that same line, I think Paul mentioned that if you read the book, don't linger. There's more books to read. There's more things to learn. You never will stop learning.
Just to change the subject a little bit, we work with, we're associated with a lot of nonprofits, or we've contacted a lot of other nonprofits. These are environmental nonprofits, one of which was the OneTreePlanted nonprofit. And they have, I just thought I'd share something that they did. So year-end summary of what they've done is kind of interesting, kind of inspiring. These are apparently grassroots. This one's a grassroots. It's not just a fluff kind of organization like Greenpeace and other larger organizations. Just talk a lot. But apparently they're planting trees. So said in New Zealand, we wrapped up our 7,500 tree planting effort to restore 5 kilometers of the Papakura stream over the next 3 years to protect stream banks and water quality. In Hoopa, California, we've just begun a 5-month planting of 187,000 trees on a 140-acre of tribal land that was devastated by firefighting efforts during the 2020 salmon fire. And by the way, this reminds me of Biden just came out with his infrastructure plan, and part of the funding that will go toward the United States infrastructure is the forests. And I was looking through the forest plan, and it had stuff like, you know, management of fire, making accessible the forests more accessible to people, but nowhere did he have tree planting. Nowhere. It's all these actually billions of dollars spent on different things, but it had not one tree was to be planted, as far as I could see. So it's kind of funny. And going on with this OneTreePlanted nonprofit, this month we've begun planting 510,000 agroforestry trees in 37 communities across Guatemala. So The land has a long history of slash and burn clearing for conventional corn monocultures. By aiding the transition to a biodiverse organic agroforestry system through offering fruit and other food trees to local farmers, this project has provided a range of ecological benefits, including erosion control, improved biodiversity, carbon sequestration, wildlife habitat, water filtration, and nutrient recycling. While soil conservation is our primary mission, working with communities on their land is key to achieving lasting impact. To achieve this, we work with local farmers to train, educate, and empower them to plant using these agroforestry systems, kind of like what we're going to be doing when funding comes in, that these people have the infrastructure already set up so we can partner with some of these nonprofits too as we go along. We've also just begun planting 500,000 indigenous and fruit trees as part of an ongoing project in Malawi, where deforestation is primarily caused by the need for construction materials, production of charcoal, firewood for cooking, and wood for making bricks and tobacco curing. To relieve pressure on primary forests, we're establishing sustainable woodlots and creating buffer zones. We're also teaching local women how to build clay brick rocket stoves, which are more efficient land and safer than open pit fires. The long-term goals of the project are to hail or halt soil erosion completely and build up soil layer inside the forests, and to provide habitat for wildlife. And that's just a summary actually for 2 months, November, December of this year.
That's good. I like, thank you for seeing the bid-in thing there. I got some ideas I'll discuss with you later about that. But okay, yes, the planting of the trees and what have you. Yes, in the past, we have contacted, for years, we've contacted many organizations around the world just to let them know we're here, okay, and we're here to help in any way we can. We're not going to be flying to Zimbabwe and planting trees. No, we won't be doing that this week. But we will do what we can here and letting the world know how to wake up so that everybody can figure things out. Yes.